Hey, what's up people? In today's video I want to talk about Spyderco's Carpenter, almost said Crucible, but it's actually a Carpenter steel PD1. As many of you, I have not heard about this steel before Spyderco did their drop. Summer last year. I bought it immediately when it dropped and have been using it ever since. This video is just a comparison between this steel and other steels with their factory edges. That's probably the most important information of this video, is that these are just factory edges. Factory edges are not perfect. They are sharpened on belts usually. They're very coarse. They're not very refined. So this is just a comparison between factory edges, and I'm gonna do a comparison between my own cutting edges somewhere later down the line. I just wanted to get the data on the factory edges as well, because maybe we see a difference there. I don't know. PD1 steel is actually the same steel, or an equivalent I should say, to Crewear from Crucible. So this Endura here and this Stretch XL arguably have the same steel, just from different makers. And interestingly enough, both of these are 18,000s in the section where I tested the knives. 18,000s is 0.47 millimeters behind the edge. These steels I will also compare to Rex-45, also from Spyderco, in this case in a Manix lightweight. And then the last steel is going to be K390. Now the Manix in Rex-45 is at a disadvantage because this one is 0.65 millimeters behind the edge, which is 23 thousandths, and the Delicar is at a slight advantage because this one is at 0.37 millimeters, which is 14 thousandths. So we have 18 thousandths, 23 thousandths, and 14 thousandths behind the edge. Technically, K390 should cut the longest, and Rex-45 should cut the second best, and Crewear and PD1, because they're the same geometry, should cut the same amount because they're the same steel. Now the reason I picked these steels is because these are all in the same family of steels. These are high alloy steels, meaning that they are very high in edge retention. They are, generally speaking, very good in toughness also, and they're not that great in corrosion resistance. Although I should say something like Crewear, for instance, is even more corrosion resistant than D2 steel, so it's not terrible at corrosion resistance, it's just not perfect. So these are basically at the opposite end of the spectrum than the high edge retention, high stainless, not very good at toughness steels like S45VN, S110V and stuff like that. So these are the more durable cutting edges. Now the test that I did was I cut a 16mm polyester rope, which is very abrasive, a lot more abrasive than the previous rope I used, which was a jute rope, a natural material. It's a very difficult material to cut, the polyester rope that is, and yeah, it dulls down blades pretty quickly. So just for reference, I tested a very soft 8CR 14 MOV steel, I think it was, and that could only do like 10 cuts or so. So this rope is very nasty. So anything above 100 cuts is very good in this test. This is the factory edge, and it has never cut anything, and it is currently very sharp. Alright, next up, I actually have a Spyderco CPM Crewear. The knife I got is one that I would have never thought I would actually get, because it's not one of the lesser expensive Spydercos. This is definitely one of the higher priced Spydercos. This is the Spyderco Stretch XL. I used to have the Stretch in the regular version. Well, I still have actually. This is the Spyderco Stretch lightweight, which is the normal size, and then the XL is slightly bigger. And yeah, I never thought there was a reason to buy the XL Stretch in Crewear, because the lightweight versions are so much cheaper. But I have to say this is nice because it has the steel backspacer and the steel liners. It feels a lot higher quality for that reason than the lightweight versions. Especially the Stretch XL lightweight has no liners. So yeah, this is a much higher quality construction, and I think long term this is gonna be nicer to have. You can still see the factory oil on here, so this is a fresh factory edge. And yeah, let's see how long this cuts in our test. Alright, with the Spyderco Stretch 2XL, we ran out of rope, but I have rope now, and I wanted to cut again, and apparently we ran out of rope right where the knife was going to stop anyways, which was at 300 cuts. I tried to do 30 or 40 cuts now, and it was terrible. Couldn't even go through the rope properly, so yeah, I'm gonna call it at 300. So this is a CPM Rex-45 in this Spyderco Manix lightweight. And just to show you how much of an artist I am, I bought this knife. This is a brand new factory edge, so the edge has never been sharpened. Bought it from a collector, saved it for years. This was sitting for years in a drawer, waiting to be tested on its factory edge. Never got around to do so. Now's the time, and now after this test I can finally start using this knife. I've been so patient. I already tested the sharpness, so this guy is hair popping sharp. Like I said, it's the factory edge. Cuts. Still fine. 340 cuts in total, far from being dull. That's an insane amount of rope. Just to give you a perspective, that's this amount. I mean, this is feet and feet of polyester rope, which is incredibly abrasive, and the entire table is full and a little bit on the floor, so that's a crazy amount of rope. Rex-45, baby. K390 factory edge, fresh out of box, has never cut anything. Now let's talk about the results of this cutting test. The first surprise was that PD1 did not cut nearly as much as Crewear did. So in fact it only cut half as much, 150 cuts and 300 cuts on the Crewear. There could be a couple of things why that is. The factory edge certainly plays a role, but I do feel like even if I put my own cutting edge on here and sharpen this really well, it's probably not going to outcut Crewear with the same sharpened edge. So yeah, there could be a difference in hardness. There is certainly not a difference in geometry. We talked about that in the beginning. Both of these are 18,000s in the section where I tested these. That does not mean that PD1 is worse than Crewear. It just means that my PD1 knife cuts less than my Crewear knife. So because there are going to be variables in every production batch. I should note that PD1 in this test cut about as much as a really well sharpened, really thin behind the edge Nitro V. But if this cuts the same amount as a well sharpened and a lot thinner ground Nitro V, it will cut a lot more if I put my own cutting edge on there. I hope that makes sense, right? Now the second surprise was that K390 did not do nearly as well as it should have, because it got outcut by Rex-45 and Crewear. So it was our second worst knife. It's still not a bad result with, I think we did 240 cuts. Yep, 240 cuts. But it had the thinnest geometry, and K390 should do more. So I'm gonna be interested at how our own cutting edge does, and if we see a huge increase in edge retention, then yeah, could be a burnt cutting edge, or yeah, not a high hardness. Could be a number of things, but it's way too soon to come to a conclusion yet, because we need to sharpen this ourselves first and test it again. Now I will say 240 cuts, still a lot of edge retention. Even the PD1 that did not as great with 150 cuts, that's quite a lot of edge retention. This stuff is very, very abrasive, and if you use these knives every single day, you will notice that they stay sharp for a very long time. And I did, because I've used them since I have tested them quite a bit. The Crewear cut really, really long with the 300 cuts, longer than I expected, and it almost performed as well as Rex-45, which it shouldn't have. So this seems to be a particularly well heat-treated knife. The Rex-45 surprised me also quite a bit, because this had the thickest geometry, so it was at a disadvantage from the beginning, but it cut the most for 340 cuts, which is an insane amount of cuts on this rope. And this knife still feels very, very sharp after the test. So yeah, Rex-45, really, really good steel. In this Manix lightweight package, it's a super lightweight knife with steel that's just insane. So this is a beast in cutting. I wish it would be thinner though, because this geometry is slightly too thick, I feel like. But yeah, I had some Rex-45 previously in a PM2, which I still regret selling, and that one performed also really, really well. So yeah, Rex-45 seems to be some really good stuff. All of these steels are good steels in my opinion. But before we form a conclusion about any of these, I think we should wait before I test my own cutting edges, because that could change a lot. Like I said, factory edges, they are the worst edges that you can possibly have on a knife, and they usually dull down pretty quickly. So yeah, that's about that. So yeah, I feel like it is too soon to have an opinion on any of these steels yet, and I will be happy to test these further in the future. And I bought all of these at different times, so this video took quite a long time to make actually. And because in the future, when I sharpen these, I can compare it to more steels that I have already sharpened. I'm thinking about putting some S45 yen in the mix, because I want to see where these high alloy steels rank in. And maybe I get some M4 as well, because M4 is in the same family, and it would be interesting where M4 sits compared to these. Yeah, edge retention tests, they have a lot of variables. The variables can be hardness, cutting edge, the condition that you're in on that particular day, your paper that you use. Sometimes you do a cut and the edge rolls over and is not able to cut the paper anymore, and then you do one more cut and then it is. So if you do like 20-30 cuts in a row, you might not be able to cut printer paper in between, but after those 30 cuts you might actually be. So there are a few variables in this test. So these tests are not perfect by any means. I will do a review on the Endura and PD1 in the future, because this is a great knife. I have carried it quite a bit, used it quite a bit, and in a full review I can talk a lot more about the toughness and all the things that I noticed. And yeah, so that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you liked it, and yeah, maybe we see each other in another video. Goodbye.